Remember video games? I love video games. We love video games around here. We got some video games. Let's talk. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Today is Friday, August 21st, and that means it's time for a quick recap of the week in video game news. Starting off, well, let's talk about some video games. So the big thing that kind of happened this week was there was a Nintendo Indie Showcase. Maybe not the biggest news for everyone out there, but I always enjoy watching these. I actually enjoy these typically more than I like the Nintendo Directs because I get to see more games, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. And as I've talked about before, the Nintendo Switch is more of like my indie carry around with me box. So I always like picking up these games on. I always like picking up indie games on Switch, and that's what these showcases really talk about. So let's jump right in. It started off with Hades, which is Supergiant's somewhat roguelike adventure game where you play as the son of Hades, and you progress through the underworld and all that within Greek mythology, and then you die and then you get reborn. So they talked about how they were bringing that game, which has been out on Steam for quite some time, or maybe the Epic Store. I forget how the exclusivity worked with Hades, but I think it was out on the Epic Store. It's been out on Steam, and now that it's coming to the Nintendo Switch, and they announced that it'll also have cross save. So good to see some of those cross-platform features coming to the Nintendo Switch with Supergiant's Supergiant's game Hades. They also had a bunch of surprise releases, and I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but one of the ones that I do remember was Spiritfarer. I'd seen this one before, and I really like the art style for it. I think you're playing as a character who is ferrying animal spirits to the underworld. Some feel to it. So that actually dropped the day of the Nintendo showcase, which was the 18th. So, I was really excited to see that. I always like these kind of surprise releases as well. Another game that I saw that I really liked the art style of, as well as kind of the theme of the game, was called Card Shark. And you play as this like cheating card gambler guy in like the 1800s or like the 19th century, and you're trying to cheat your way up to like royalty, I guess. But the art style looked really cool. It's from the same team that made Rain, or yeah, Rain, the like 2D kind of Game of Thronesy type game, where you play as members of a royal family and politics and all that. So I think it's made by that same team. I don't remember what the name of the team is off the top of my head. Another game that I saw that I really like the art style of was Takeshi and Hiroshi. It's about you are a budding game designer, and it started off with this clay animation style, which I thought was really unique for a video game. It starts off with this clay animation style, and you play as an older brother, budding. You're also trying to challenge him, and so it's about this relationship between two brothers, as well as you as a game designer, which I thought was a really cool concept for a game. Torchlight 3 is also coming to the Switch. Didn't confirm any launch dates, but it is coming later this year, and I'm really excited for the kind of Diablo clone that is Torchlight 3. I remember having Torchlight 1 on, I think it was pre-downloaded on like a PC I had when I first bought a PC. And so I've kind of always been into them. I like the cutesy kind of art style, not always necessarily the kind of gothic Diablo style. So I was really looking forward to Torchlight 3, and glad it's coming to the Switch. I don't know what console I'll be playing it on, but I'm excited that it's coming to the Switch. Last but not least, I'm not covering everything, but my favorite part was the Untitled Goose Game is now getting co-op, which I thought was amazing. I feel really bad for all the citizens of the Bell Town, whatever the name of the town was in Untitled Goose Game, but I am excited to play Untitled Goose Game co-op with couch co-op with my significant other and any friends that come over. Not that friends come over anymore, it's COVID times, but I am looking forward to Untitled Goose Game co-op. Moving right along, there was like I said in the cold open, there's been a lot of video games coming coming out, or well, we've been in sort of a summer drought, and now I feel like at least there's 3 video games that I'm going to talk about that launched this week that I'm excited about. Microsoft Flight Simulator. I had a friend who's very much really deep on this, and from what I've seen in the reviews, this is definitely a game that should be talked about. Microsoft Flight Simulator has a 92 Metacritic, which, in my own head, 90 plus is like, you'll enjoy this game regardless of what genre or what type of games you're into. So to see that 92, I was like really blown away by it. And I got to see what people were talking about, looking at like the visuals and the graphic fidelity, being able to like fly over, my hometown of LA. Like, it was really cool to see all that stuff in action. I haven't actually gotten my hands on it yet, but I have seen some gameplay. Just like the Google Maps, like picture perfect level of details that they have about with this game is very cool. So I'm hoping to pick it up on Xbox Game Pass when it comes to that. But if you're really into, if you have a gaming PC and you want to drop the money, I think this is probably a good game to kind of, I think it gets people, I think it feels a lot like Animal Crossing, where it's like it gets you out of the house even though you're not allowed to leave your house. So I think it's a perfect COVID type game. And I think the picture quality is freaking crazy. And yeah, I've actually heard a couple cool stories about the missions in the game too. So yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator. I never thought I'd be talking about a flight simulator. I haven't played one of those in like 15 years, and I was never really into them. But this one kind of popped up. A couple of my friends talked my ear off about it, and I think it looks really cool. So I'm looking to play it on Game Pass eventually, but not yet. Another game I've been excited about that you've seen me talk about on these before is Samurai Jack Battle Through Time. This one actually surprised me. I thought it was coming out next week, and it launched today. So it's on like every platform: PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Like it's everywhere. This one didn't receive as well of a Metacritic. It's actually got a 67, which I read a couple of the reviews, and it started to sound like it was a little buggy, but I'm willing to give it a try. I'm excited. I've been a Samurai Jack. Well, I've only been a Samurai Jack fan since like the 3rd season, but I'm really invested, and I'm really excited to see how this game plays out, even with a somewhat questionable Metacritic score. And then moving right along, wrapping up this like video games trilogy of games that came out this week. Mortal Shell. This is a very Dark Soulsy, Soulsborne type game. It's called Mortal Shell, and it's got a 77 Metacritic, and it's a Dark Souls game in all but name. It's got the vibe, it's got the weird NPC characters, it's got the dark gothic world. So if you are a Soulsborne fan, then I think this game is going to be right for you. I think the combat looks a little bit more frantic than maybe a Dark Souls game, or a little bit, I don't know, quicker. On the general scale of like Dark Souls to Ninja Gaiden, I don't think it's anywhere near like the fast-paced, frenetic craziness that is Ninja Gaiden, but I do think it's a little bit closer. It's not exactly Dark Souls, kind of like slow, methodological kind of attacks. So Mortal Shell is rounding up this trilogy of video games that launched this week. So let me know what you think down below in the comments about Mortal Shell. There was a Baldur's Gate 3 stream this week. The developers, Larian Studios, got onto they had a stream. They talked about their early access. They talked about a lot of the details, and I was really blown away by the level of detail. I do think their presentation style is a little kitschy, but from a bunch of D&D nerds who get to make a D&D based video game, they're allowed their eccentricities. Yeah, so the game talked about the early access that's coming September 30th. They kind of held that towards the end, but I'll jump to the chase. They talked about the early access coming September 30th. They talked about some really deep, like meta, or like really deep cut information, like how Speak with Dead is going to work. Like, so in most games, well, in most D&D settings, you have a spell Speak with Dead, and this game actually allows you to cast that spell in a video game, which is crazy, and allows you to ask several questions of a dead NPC. So just the uses of that are going to be crazy. And just the level of detail, like, it's almost like CDP level of detail, which I thought was just high praise. And they talked about the kind of data that they're going to be using for this early access. They showed like a heat map of, like, where they'll be able to take information from where players have been, where players have died, and they'll be able to use that information of, like, hey, no one's visiting this spot that we've had this, this detail for. Why isn't anybody visiting it? Is it too hard to get to, or is it just too well hidden? Well, then we'll have to adjust, how many signs or how many people pointing you towards that direction there are. So very cool. Or if it's too difficult, people are dying and aren't getting past a certain part, they're going to be able to scale back the difficulty. So very smart. I've never seen kind of a developer go into this level of detail of what they're going to do with an early access. So I really bought into it, and I thought it was really cool. So and then the last point they talked about was they want you to play evil, because there's going to be so many different choices, and most players are going to probably play the good path. So there was, like, saying use the early access to play the evil path, because there's a lot of choices that you probably won't make in your playthrough, that you'll be able to see kind of some things in this early access. So I thought that was a really cool note, kind of identifying that most people are going to probably play through the good path, and there's certain choices that you wouldn't see, and they've got 45,000 lines of dialogue, and half of those, potentially half of those are evil choices, and so they just wanted to see more people get into that path, and maybe there's something hidden behind the scenes of they want to test out something that might or might not be working with what it means to be evil in the game. So cool. I'm excited for Baldur's Gate 3. I'm currently playing isometric RPGs, so I'm really excited for it. Ghost of Tsushima had a surprise announced this week, just kind of out of the blue, not tied to any specific event, but the developers of Ghost of Tsushima, Sucker Punch, they talked about a free co-op experience that's going to come out later this year, called Ghost of Tsushima Legends. You're going to take on one of 4 different roles, and I don't remember what they all are off the top of my head, but it was like Samurai, Ronin, Archer, and like Ninja type. I think maybe that was like all of them. And you're going to be battling together to fight some what look like Oni, or some supernatural forces. And wow, I was really speechless. This wasn't tied to any specific event. They just kind of announced that there was co-op coming to the kind of this this single player game. And so I thought it was interesting. I've kind of bounced off of the game. I didn't get through the whole story, but to be able to play it with some of our friends who might not pick it up now but might pick it up later, and they'll be able to play the single player experience, and we'll be able to talk about that, and then we'll also be able to play the multiplayer together. I wonder how the combat's going to work in a multiplayer. I'm just thinking this off the top of my head. Like, I wonder how the multiplayer combat's going to work, because it's very much set up as like the single one-on-one combat, and you're trying to really control combat. It's very controlled, and so having multiple people in there doing different things could get a little chaotic, but maybe that's what the game will thrive off of. So I'm excited to see Ghost of Tsushima Legends. There wasn't a release date. I think it just said fall. I think I saw a PS5 logo, but I'm not sure, so I wonder if it'll be like a cross-platform release. We talk about this almost every week. Call of Duty is definitely trickling out the information, just the slowest drip feed of information. So everybody who was doing the ARG was finding more and more information. They thought today's the day they're going to release something big, and all the Treyarch gave them was a like image, kind of looked like a box art cover or some kind of image like that. It definitely confirmed that it's I think it's got to be named Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. So it's definitely all set around the Cold War era, and that's what they've been slowly giving the fans. But this was just a tease for the big information that's coming next week on August 26th. So we're still looking forward to more information, but I think this is I think it's still working with them. Again, I just see the dollar signs in their eyes because they want Warzone to keep making that money, and money definitely stops as soon as you announce the new Call of Duty game. So they're definitely slow playing it. And I've heard some, I've heard rumors about the behind the scenes kind of maybe there's been development issues. Nothing confirmed, but I wonder if that has anything to do with the marketing plan, although it wouldn't. Anyway, getting sidetracked, but Call of Duty is slowly giving us more and more information. Looking forward to a big announcement next week, and hopefully it's not just another, piece of art. This one hits me kind of hard because I was looking forward to this game later this year. Bethesda's latest competitive narrative game, Deathloop, coming from Arcane Studios, has been delayed into 2021. They announced that this week, and I'm really looking forward to it. I wasn't really big on the Dishonored games, but I played Prey. I'm really into Arcane Studios and what they do. I like their art style, and I like the kind of tones and themes of Deathloop, and I like the kind of competitive narrative game, which I think is like, it feels like a new genre. So I'm really interested in how that plays out. But that I'll have to wait till 2021 to talk about it. So looking forward to that. Also, I'm the biggest Bethesda fanboy, so also looking forward to it for that reason. The classic Xbox Duke controller, the big original Xbox, like the big fat, has the circle in the middle, it says Xbox on it, like that big old thing. Hyperkin and Microsoft have teamed up to make a version of that that's compatible with today's real estate, today's gaming stuff, so peripherals. So the Xbox Duke controller is available. It's actually on discount right now. It used to be $70 and now it's $50. I'll have a link down in the description. I would definitely love to have this like USB classic Xbox controller, although I have small hands, so I don't know that I'd be able to I don't know if I could handle it back then, but even more now, I don't know that I'd be able to handle such a big controller. But yeah, I'm looking. I think it's very interesting, and for those Xbox fans like myself, definitely a piece of nostalgia if you're looking for that. Moving right along, the final Remnant DLC for Remnant from the Ashes dropped this week. I've already started playing it. I think it came out Tuesday, but I started playing it yesterday, and I'm really liking it. I think it's a good capstone for the game, so I'm wondering if they're going to put out like a all-in-one kind of GOTY edition where you'll have the full game for $60 or $40. And because this latest DLC is $10, the previous DLC was $10, and the base game was $40 when I bought it at launch. So makes a good full $60 game. I bet that'll be discounted now that we're a year out, but I'm looking forward to fully exploring the game. I think it adds a lot of new content. It came with a bunch of patches that updated the gear, so I'm excited to explore, the different gear combinations. And Remnant or Gunfire Studios has always had this kind of conversation about, rather than nerfing items, they want to bring everything up to the same standard of power, which I think is a good philosophy when you're working with balancing in games. So the fact that they're buffing a bunch of gear so that it's in parallel with some other gear, I think is very interesting. It's a good approach. I'm excited to explore it more in the video game. In the last DLC, they added a survival kind of endless mode, so adding more content to that adds potentially infinite amount of content, so or infinite amount of gameplay. So looking forward to playing all the way through that, and then probably beyond with multiple different friends. So I'm excited for the Remnant DLC. I'm getting to it right after this. Last but certainly not least, the most popular game in the zeitgeist right now is Fall Guys, and we got information, or at least conversation, talking about how Season 2 will be discussed next week, and this is kind of my tangential primer towards next week is the Digital Gamescom, and so Devolver Digital and Mediatonic will be talking about Fall Guys and the Season 2 that's not coming next week, but they'll be talking about it next week. So set your calendars for Gamescom next week, and hope you're enjoying your Fall Guys 2. Make sure to finish up all the Season 1 content before Season 2 comes out. But that's it for the week. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy this content. If you do, follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch so you can see more great content like this. Links down in the description below. Thanks again. Hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super weekend. I hope you have a super day. Bye.